Right, let's talk about the big picture for Rangers right now, because the Europa League has become one of those competitions where the feeling around the club is split. A lot of supporters are already saying it's basically over, and I can see why. The focus really should be on the league, because the title race is very much alive, and it's the prize that would change everything. Still, the Europa League isn't completely dead yet, and it would be wrong to act like it doesn't matter at all. If Rangers can get the win tonight against Ludogorets and then go and take care of business in Porto, there's still a path to the knockout stages. It's not straightforward and it's not guaranteed, but it is there. And that's the thing. When you're at a club like Rangers, you don't just walk away from a competition because it's difficult. You fight. What complicates the situation is the coefficient scoring. It's a bit of a maze, but it's important. These points could be massive if Rangers win the league this season and want to get that automatic Champions League spot. It's not just about being successful domestically. It's about making sure Scotland's standing improves too. The teams around us in Europe are all fighting for those points, and every single one matters. So even if you're thinking, the Europa League is over, let's rest the squad, that argument doesn't really hold up when you consider the bigger picture. We need these coefficient points to give ourselves the best chance of securing automatic qualification. It's one of those details that might not be obvious to everyone, but it could end up being decisive in the long run. Now, let's be honest for a moment. We should be beating Ludogorets at home. That's not even a controversial statement. Rangers at Ibrox in front of our fans should be expected to win games like this. The momentum we've built recently is something we should be protecting. Some people will say, rest the squad, take it easy, but that's not how Rangers should operate right now. We want to keep the winning feeling going. We want that momentum to carry us forward, because that's what wins titles. It's not just about the individual games, it's about the energy, the belief, and the confidence that builds when you keep winning. That's why tonight matters, even if some might think the competition is already gone. And then there's the transfer situation, which has been a constant talking point. Danny Röhl has been quite open about pushing for reinforcements, about banging on the door for more signings. He wants more players, more depth, more options, and that's fair enough. But while we're talking about incoming signings, there's also outgoing business to address. This morning, it was confirmed that Kieran Dow will be leaving Rangers to join Hull City. It's a loan move with the view to a permanent deal in the summer, and it marks the end of his time at Rangers. For many, it will come as no surprise. He never really settled into the squad, and it was clear that he wasn't going to be a long-term fixture in the first team. Sometimes players just don't fit, and you have to accept that. Dow's time at Rangers was never really what anyone hoped for. He had a loan spell at Birmingham last season, and it didn't really go anywhere. He never looked like he was going to break into the starting 11 consistently. And when you're a club like Rangers, you can't afford to keep players who aren't contributing. There's always pressure, and there's always competition for places. For the player and for the club, this move makes sense. It gives Dow a fresh start, and it gives Rangers the chance to clear the slate and move forward. There's no shame in it. It's just part of football. You sign players, you hope they succeed, and if it doesn't work out, you move on. It's best for both sides, and you have to respect that. But the squad news isn't all about departures. There's also a big update on the injury front, and it's one that gives supporters a bit of hope. Danny Röhl has provided a cautiously optimistic update on John Souttar's condition, which is huge given how important he is to the team. The Scotland international has been out with an injury, and at first there was real concern that he could be sidelined for a long time. That kind of news always hits hard, especially when you're in the middle of a season where every point matters. Sutar has been one of the most reliable figures in the backline, and losing him would have been a major blow. But Royal's update suggests that things aren't as bad as initially feared, and that's a relief. It's worth remembering how turbulent things were not too long ago. The club was in a difficult place, and the dismissal of Russell Martin just 17 matches into his tenure was a sign of how fractured the situation had become. Rangers were down in the table, struggling, and the atmosphere around the club was tense. The scenes at Falkirk in early October, with the situation boiling over and Martin leaving under police escort, showed just how much pressure there was. It was a chaotic period, and it left the club searching for stability. That's why Royal's appointment was so crucial. He came in with a clear mission to steady the ship, to bring structure, and to restore belief. And by most measures, he has done that. The team looks more organized, more disciplined, and more resilient. But Europe has remained a different kind of challenge. Despite the improvements domestically, the continental results have not been what fans hoped for. Royal is still chasing his first European win with Rangers this season, and the margin for error is now razor-thin. Every game feels like a must-win, and that adds pressure. The absence of Sutar has made things even more difficult. Losing a key defender at such a crucial time is never ideal, and it has complicated the task of getting results in Europe. It's one thing to be fighting for the league. It's another to be trying to navigate a European group when you don't have all your best players available. The situation has been tough, but the positive update on Sutar is a reminder that things can turn around. Royal has confirmed that Sutar is out for the week, which means he will miss tonight's Europa League game against Ludogorets and the Premiership fixture against Dundee on Sunday. But the good news is that the outlook is now better than first feared. The initial assumption was that Sutar could be out long-term, but now there's optimism that he might be back sooner than expected. If he returns in time for the trip to Porto next Thursday, that would be a massive boost. That match is a defining moment for Rangers' European hopes, and having Sutar back could make a huge difference. It's not just about the player himself, but about what his return represents in terms of stability and confidence. On top of that, there's also the situation with Dujon Sterling, another important player whose fitness needs to be managed carefully. Royal has said that Sterling looks good on the pitch, but he's not sure whether he will use him at the weekend because there are so many games coming up. It's a sensible approach. You can't push players too hard when the schedule is congested. Managing minutes is crucial, especially when you're trying to compete on multiple fronts. Sterling has been important for the team, and you don't want to risk losing him to injury just because you're trying to win one game. It's about the long-term picture, and Royal seems to understand that. The Europa League situation is stark. Losses to Slavia Prague, Roma, and Fiorentina have left Rangers in a difficult position, sitting near the bottom of the group and needing to win their final 2 matches. It's a tough place to be, and it means that the team cannot afford any slip-ups. The pressure is intense, and every result matters. The next 2 fixtures are not just games. They are opportunities to keep the European dream alive. And if Rangers can get the wins they need, then the other results falling the right way could still see them through. It's a slim margin, but it's still a chance. January has at least brought some fresh faces into the squad. Andreas Skov Olsen's arrival on loan from Wolfsburg has been seen as a statement of intent, and it adds quality and creativity to the team. The additions of Tochi Chukwani and other signings have also provided more depth. even if the club's financial situation limits how far Rangers can go compared to teams in wealthier leagues. The reality is that Rangers have to be smart with their spending. They can't compete on the same level as clubs with massive budgets, so every signing has to be considered carefully. But the January window has given Roel more options, and that could be important in the coming weeks. Domestically, the task remains formidable. Rangers sit level on points with Celtic, but are trailing on goal difference. Meanwhile, Hearts hold a 6-point lead at the top, which means there is still a gap to close. With the transfer window nearing its end and key fixtures coming up, the next 10 days could define the season. It's a crucial period, and the team needs to take advantage of every opportunity. In that context, Souttar's potential return feels significant. It's not just about the defensive stability he brings, but about the sense of momentum and belief that his presence can restore. Every boost matters right now, and this one could come at the right time. The next few weeks will be a defining stretch for Rangers. It will test how far Roel has managed to rebuild the team since inheriting a fractured situation. European qualification is still uncertain, and domestic ambitions are very much alive. The margin for error is incredibly small, and every decision, every injury update, and every point dropped or gained will feel amplified. In that sense, the possibility of Souttar returning sooner than expected is both symbolic and practical. His return would strengthen the defensive unit at a vital moment, but it would also reinforce the sense of stability that Roel has worked hard to bring back to the club. And with careful management of players like Sterling and the integration of the January signings, Rangers have the tools to navigate what lies ahead. The financial realities may limit the room for maneuver, but the spirit, the belief, and the momentum are still there. That is what will make the difference as the season reaches its most intense phase. And that is what fans will be watching closely over the coming days. Right. So, picking up straight from where we left off, the next chunk of the season is going to be all about momentum and, more importantly, about how Rangers handle the pressure. Because let's be honest, the pressure is no longer something that comes and goes. It's constant. Every week, every match, every decision is under the microscope. And that's the reality when you're fighting for the league and trying to keep European hopes alive. The squad has to be ready mentally, not just physically. And that's one of the reasons why these injury updates matter so much. If you can get key players back, not only does it strengthen the team, but it also lifts the mood around the place. Confidence is a huge part of this sport, and Rangers have to keep feeding that confidence, especially when the games are coming thick and fast. Now, if we look at the league, it's a situation where the table doesn't tell the whole story. Rangers are level on points with Celtic, but that goal difference gap is the kind of thing that can become a mental hurdle. It's one thing to know you're close, it's another to feel like you're always chasing. That's why every match is massive and why the focus has to be so sharp. The league title is still within reach, but it's not going to be handed to anyone. Rangers have to go out and earn it game by game. And the tricky part is balancing that with Europe, because the squad depth is being tested. The January signings have helped, but there are still limitations. You can't play the same players every single week and expect them to perform at their peak. That's why load management becomes crucial, and why managers like Danny Roel have to think ahead. The Europa League fixtures are looming, and they carry their own weight. A trip to Porto is not something you take lightly. It's one of those matches that can define a season. If Rangers go there and put in a strong performance, it can be the kind of result that shifts the momentum back in their favour. But if they lose, it can become another psychological blow. That's why having players like John Souttar available could be so important. His presence at the back can give the team that extra sense of security, that extra confidence to play with a bit more freedom. Defense is often underrated when it comes to building momentum, but it's absolutely central. When you have a strong defensive foundation, everything else becomes easier. The team can attack with more belief, and the whole unit feels more balanced. And then there's the issue of squad rotation. It's a tricky one because supporters want to see the best team on the pitch every time. But the reality is that the season is long and the fixture list is brutal. You have to rotate, you have to manage minutes, and you have to make sure the players are fresh when the big games come. That's why Danny Rule's comments about Sterling make sense. He's a key player, but you can't burn him out. It's about finding the right balance between using your best players and protecting them. It's a delicate juggling act and one that can make or break a season. And the last thing Rangers need is to lose key players through fatigue or minor injuries that could have been avoided. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. Rangers FC are reportedly facing a financial storm that could shake the foundations of the club. Sources close to the Ibrox outfit suggest that the Scottish Giants are in desperate need of a win against PORTO, with mounting pressure on the club's coffers, threatening to force the sale of 3 key players if they fail to deliver on the European stage. The rumor has sent shockwaves through the fan base, with supporters expressing both disbelief and concern over the potential upheaval in the squad. Insiders claim that the club's hierarchy has been crunching numbers behind closed doors, and the stakes could not be higher. The notion that 3 starters might be offloaded in the summer to balance the books has left fans speculating wildly about who could be on the chopping block. The tension is palpable as the financial implications of a slip-up against PORTO could resonate far beyond the pitch. Analysts are pointing to the precarious nature of modern football finances, especially for clubs outside the financial superpowers of Europe. Rangers, despite their historic stature, are apparently navigating a delicate balance between ambition and sustainability. A loss in the forthcoming fixture could not only hit morale, but also trigger a mini rebuild of the squad, with potential departures of household names leaving a void both on and off the pitch. Meanwhile, whispers around Ibrox hint that the board may be considering all possible options to safeguard the club's future, including strategic sales, renegotiations, or even last-minute sponsorship deals. Fans are bracing for a tense period, aware that the outcome of a single game might dictate the direction of the club for months to come. Speculation is rife, and social media is alight with debate. Who would be sold? Could Rangers retain their core while remaining competitive? Or will the financial hammer fall harder than expected? The situation has certainly added an extra layer of intrigue to the Rangers-Porto clash, turning what might have been a standard European tie into a potential turning point for the club's fortunes. One thing is clear: the eyes of the supporters, the pundits, and indeed the footballing world will all be firmly fixed on Ibrox as Rangers face a high-stakes challenge both on and off the pitch. Greetings, fans. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned.